Masjid, inshallah. We only have him for today and only for a few minutes. So brothers are requested to gather closely, inshallah. Jalli jalli kareeb tashrif le aaye. Brothers outside, if they can also make their way inside. Jazakumullah khairah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. I just thought that I'd take a look at some of the verses in Surah Yusuf and we could analyze and think of some ideas specifically more towards parents and geared towards parents. I'm going to go through the different scenes in Surah Yusuf and we're going to think about some of the different events that take place. I think the first scene that takes place is there's a young boy by the name of Yusuf, and he comes to his father Yaqub, who's a prophet alayhi salam, and he says to his father that I've seen a dream. He says, إِذْ قَالَ يُوسُفُ لِأَبِيهِ, Yusuf says to his father, Ya abati, Dad, إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ أَحَدَ عَشَرَ كَوْكَبًا, I've seen a dream. The first thing I think this surah teaches us, remember, look, I've got limited time, so I'm going to try and keep it as to the point as possible. The Quranic stories are not for entertainment. The Quranic stories have objective purpose. These stories are mine and your lives playing out every single day in homes across the globe. This is fundamental to understand. A story is something you can connect to. A story is something you feel a connection with. When I tell you a story, it's exciting because you have some affinity, you can follow a structure. Allah gives us these stories to say that your life is going to be very similar and there's going to be things that you need to take from this. So the first thing that we're seeing in this story is there's a young boy who's coming and speaking to his father very directly, explicitly. What's he talking about? He's talking about his dream. And this dream actually has something very strange inside. If my son or my daughter comes to me and says, Dad, something was doing sajda to me, that's a very uncomfortable thing to say to your parents. Not only that, to say to your parent who's a prophet, that something else was doing sajda to me. It should be, I do sajda to things. And so this boy has a relationship with his father which has been developed over time. If you want transparency with your children and you want your children to speak to you and you want to have that communication open, there's got to be that transparency there where your children can come and say something like this. And they should be able to ask questions and they should be able to ask uncomfortable questions. The first instance of asking questions was by the angels. The angels ask Allah a very uncomfortable question. They say, Allah, you're going to create Adam alayhi salam. You're going to create this human. Really, is that a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea? He's going to shed blood. You know, but we'll worship you, Allah. You don't need this Adam alayhi salam. And so Allah responds to their question. So that's the first thing. Let's take a look at scene number 2. The father says, Ya bunayya la taqsus ru'yaka ala ikhwatika. Oh, that's the same scene rather. He says, don't narrate this dream to your brothers. Make sure you don't tell your brothers this dream. Again, this is also understanding family dynamics, isn't it? Sometimes there's people within your own family that you've got to tell your kids, be careful about this individual, be careful about that person, be careful about these, etc., etc. But he does something really interesting. He says, Inna ash-shaytana lil insani aduwwun mubin. I was speaking to somebody today and somebody did something and then they said it seems like the shaitan of the nafs is in full force. The scholars have an opinion. Are all the shaitan locked up in Ramadan or is it the major shayateen that are locked up? And my inclination, based off my studies from my teachers, is that it's the major shaitans that are locked up, the minor shaitans are still around. And the scholars mention one of the benefits of this is you can do husnul dhan with people. Because if all the shaitan are locked up, it's you that's the problem. And so if the minor shayateen are still around, at least you can have this hope and say, well, maybe it's the shaitan that's done this. Inna ash-shaytana lil insani aduwwun mubin. You tell your children, watch out for this person in your family, watch out for this uncle, watch out for this brother, watch out for this sister, watch out for this auntie, watch out for this individual. The child is instantly going to think this is the problem. The father says, but it's shaitan who's the problem and he's the enemy. This individual, don't turn your hatred towards this individual, turn it towards shaitan. It's that dynamic that the parent is teaching, that we don't look down at other people, we're going to blame shaitan. Scene number 2 is then a communication. أخوه أحب إلى أبينا منا ونحن عصبة. Listen carefully to these words. Yusuf and his brother, not our brother, his brother. This kind of dynamic that's created teams. Hey, it's that guy and this guy. It's groupthink, isn't it? Every time you have problems in communities, in societies, it's this masjid versus that masjid. It's this family versus that family. It's this community versus that community. It's this, ethnicity versus that ethnicity. Yusuf and his brothers, they're all from the same parents. The difference is that their mums were different. And so Yusuf and his brother, dad loves them more. But ahabbu ila abina, our dad. That's our dad. We have exclusive rights and property to this father. It's not their father as well. It's our father. So this is actually coming from a mindset of, when you feel like there's limited resources and you've all got to compete for this resource, you kind of make your little groups and say, that's ours, this is a problem, eliminate this problem. And that's exactly what these brothers are doing. They're doing this kind of group think. And their logic is, وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ. We're this big group of people. We're this big kind of collective. Surely dad should like us more than Yusuf. And I've mentioned this many times before. Some of the scholars or some people indicate that Yaqub alayhi salam loved Yusuf alayhi salam more. Ibn Ashur and other scholars of tafsir are strongly opposed to this idea. They say that no. When you show love to a child, you show it different to when you show it to an adult. Of course, that's common sense. If there's a child, you're going to pull his cheeks and you're going to kind of, mess about and uji-guji and all this kind of stuff, right? But you're not going to do that to an adult. You do that to your 13-year-old and 14-year-old. Say, Dad, what are you doing? Get away, my friends are going to see me and this and that. So you treat them differently. And so these boys have misunderstood the relationship between their parents and their father, and they think that dad doesn't love us as much. And it gets to such a stage, listen to this parents, Inna abana lafi dalalim mubin. You might have heard this phrase spoken from your children in a very different way. I'll translate it literally. Inna abana, and it's always a very uncomfortable phrase to translate because it's speaking about a great and noble prophet like Yaqub alayhi salam. Without doubt, our father he's lost the plot. Think about this as your children are growing up and they say something like, Dad doesn't get us. Mum doesn't get us. Or they're old school, it's a different generation. I can see, I just saw 2 youngsters looking at their parents and smiling. One over there on that side. Let's all look at him. Why are you looking at your dad for? Leave him alone. Inna abana lafi dalalim mubin. So he says, our father has lost the plot, meaning he's out of touch. Listen carefully, parents, and listen carefully, children. This is one of shaitan's tricks. It doesn't sound like a very complex trick, but it's a very complex trick. Let me explain to you. Shaitan messed up and he's going to use those same techniques to mess us up. How did shaitan mess up? I said to you in the heavens, the angels asked a question, didn't they? The angels said to Allah, Allah, look, we don't understand why you're creating Adam. It doesn't make sense to us. They had a question. They asked the question was answered, or there was a response given. There was somebody else roaming around in the heavens who's there watching this entire thing. He doesn't ask the question. It was Iblis. Iblis wasn't any old Joe Bloggs. This is somebody who started on the earth. Imagine what level of worship he's done to get access to where the angels are. But he's got these doubts and questions in his mind. And he didn't ask the questions. The problem isn't the why question. First, I'm going to address the youth and the people with questions. The problem isn't the why question. You can ask your question. But the problem is the way you ask that question and the etiquette. Because the angels immediately go, نَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Allah, we're here to worship you and praise you and sing your praise. Allah, we're not questioning your authority. We just want to learn your wisdom. When you come and ask this question that why is this the case? Accept the reality that Allah, I'm only, because you're not going to disrespect me when you ask a funny question. You're not going to disrespect your parents. Remember, you're showing disrespect and disetiquette to Allah. So that's what you've got to bear in mind. You can ask your question, but it's how you phrase that question. And so fine, what did Iblis not do? Iblis didn't ask the question. And what made him not ask the question? Again, in his mind, he built up these walls. That, why is he creating Adam? Maybe I'm misunderstood. Nobody understands what I'm saying. I'm the odd one out. I'm the one made out of fire. They're all made out of light. These are all angels. I'm the fire guy. So maybe they're not going to understand me. Maybe I can't get through to them. Maybe they won't have an answer. Iblis does this to the children of a prophet. And he puts in their mind, dad doesn't have the answers. So to the children, I've had a word with the parents and I've said, let them ask the why. But to the children, shaitan will come and say, dad doesn't get it. Mum doesn't get it. They probably get it much more than you do. The same emotions and the feelings that you have, they went through when they were younger as well. And the same things that you're going through, maybe it's exacerbated, maybe the context is different, maybe you have a mobile in your pocket and they didn't, but the same challenges and the thoughts and the tests that they had, you have and you're going to go through. And Allah is saying, by the way, you're not special. This story has been going on since the time of Yusuf alayhi salam in every single home, and it's going to continue going through in every single home till the day of judgment. Allah is teaching us that understand there are certain doors that shaitan will close access to, and if you don't ask those places, you will continue developing doubts until you reach a stage where suddenly Allah says, "Uqtulu Yusuf," let's go and kill Yusuf. And you're thinking, whoa, where did that come from? It doesn't even say, "Qalu," they said, "Uqtulu Yusuf." It just suddenly, "Uqtulu Yusuf." And by the way, they were saying, dad doesn't know this. It's not even a change of scene. It's just suddenly, "Uqtulu Yusuf." Let's kill Yusuf. Yusuf is let's kill him. So there's a few things here that we need to understand. Sometimes you have a question about the religion. The alim, the scholar, what does he know? He's this old school looking, long beard, not targeting Sheikh Talha here. It's just an example here. But he looks like this guy who doesn't get what I'm going through. He's really pious. He's there for Fajr, Asar, Maghrib, Isha, Dhahar. He's there for all these salahs. He doesn't get me. I go to college. I'm this. I like watching streamers on Twitch and this is my life. What does the Imam understand? What does he know about the context that I'm brought up in? You think you're smart, that's exactly what shaitan wanted you to say, because now he's sealed doors for you. Now you can't ask that question. Now you want to learn about the religion, you've sealed the access for yourself. Who does that? Who does that to themselves? That's what we do. And so they say, "Uqtulu Yusuf," let's kill Yusuf. Allah's telling us, listen, this is the home of a prophet. These words are being spoken in. You think it won't happen in your home? This is again to parents and to children. Sometimes parents are naive, not my home. It's not going to happen in my household. Maybe that guy's household, or maybe in that street or that one. This stuff doesn't happen in my house. Inappropriate usage of the mobile phone, that's not going to happen in my house. Dodgy relationships, that's not going to happen in my house. Questions about faith isn't going to happen in my house. It can happen in the home of a prophet if Allah wants it to. Uqtulu Yusuf, kill Yusuf. And what's the reasoning for this? So, my focus is the Arabic language. I'm going to give you an insight into this. Yaqub alayhi salam actually answers this previously. He says, pay attention to this. He says, "Yakidu laka kaidan." Your brothers, they will do kaid against you. They'll plot against you. In Arabic, there's lots of words for kaid, for plotting. You could use makr, you can use other words. Why use the word kaid? I've mentioned this previously. Pay close attention. The word kada in Arabic has a number of implications. Number one, when a woman's about to come on a menstruation cycle, they say kadatil mar'a, right? Menstruation cycle, the bleeding. The other place kada is used is when somebody vomits. Okay, what's the connection between these two? Okay, pay attention. Kada, when a woman comes on a menstruation cycle, she feels this brewing within her stomach. She feels uncomfortable. Her emotions are all over the place, and she feels this kind of chemical imbalance and this physical, biological imbalance, and she can feel it. When you're about to vomit, yes or no, you feel this kind of, my stomach doesn't feel good. I can feel the saliva in my mouth. I know when it's about to happen. That's number one about this word kada. Number two, when it happens suddenly. When the blood comes out, it comes out suddenly. When you vomit suddenly. And the third implication is there's no going back. There's no retracting now. Once the vomit comes out, you can't clean it up and swallow it. You can, but when the blood comes out, you can't force it back in. No, that's not how it works. Kada. He says, فَيَكِيدُ لَكَ كَيْدًا. This is the revelation from Allah. By the way, Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam didn't speak Arabic. So these words aren't their spoken words. Allah's taken their host language and translated it and put it into Arabic for us. When Adam alayhi salam spoke, he didn't speak Arabic. He was a non-Arab. So his language, whatever was his language, that's what he was speaking. And then Allah translates that and puts that here. Which means that when I translate something, I'm translating words. When Allah translates something, He translates words, feelings, emotions, thoughts, all of these things. He's saying your brothers will do kaid against you. What's kaid? Kaid is when something's brewing inside. Your brothers are jealous of you. Jealousy is something that brews inside. And when it festers and it boils and it bubbles and it goes unchecked, it reaches a stage when uqtulu Yusuf. And when it gets to uqtulu Yusuf, you do something, you kill somebody, you hurt somebody, but there's no going back now. You hear about, people who commit murders and commit this and do that and whatnot out of rage and out of anger, and then suddenly they have regret and they don't know what to do, and now they try to fix the situation. That's because of that jealousy that's brewing inside this individual. And so the wording is very important. And that's why Allah mentions that when He talks about these stories, and He talks about the stories, it's not just a story that's important. It's the way Allah narrates a story. And without the Arabic language, you're missing out on maybe 70, 60% of the nuances that are infused within these verses. They say, let's kill Yusuf. And so one of the brothers says, let's just actually analyze the entire phrase. Uqtulu Yusuf, let's kill Yusuf. Awitrahuhu ardan, let's chuck him in some random plot of land. Let's just get rid of him, make him distant. Yakhlu lakum wajhu abikum. Your father will love you again. Yakhlu khala means to empty. You're going to clear any possibility of your father being distracted. It's a clean slate, fresh start. Dad's going to love you guys. Wajhu abikum wa takunu min ba'dihi qawman salihin. I keep telling you, these brothers are not the problem. Shaitan is the problem. Yaqub alayhi salam told us this. Yakidu laka kaidan, they're going to plot. Inna shaitana, shaitan is the one who's plotting. Look at this plot of shaitan. Pay attention. Most of us would overlook this. وَتَكُونُ مِن بَعْدِ قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ will become religious afterwards. Wait, what did you say? We're going to kill somebody and then you can become religious afterwards. Do we not do that all the time? I'm just going to do this one haram transaction. I'm just going to involve myself in this one sin. But وَتَكُونُ مِن بَعْدِهِ قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ. Couple of minutes. Okay. تَكُونُ مِن بَعْدِهِ قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ. That's exactly what we do on a daily basis. I'll become religious. I'm not even 20 yet. I'm not even 30, 40, 50, 60. I don't have white hairs yet. Full beard isn't white yet. Isn't it? I need to get, maybe my armpit. I need to get some white hairs on my armpit. And تَكُونُ مِن بَعْدِهِ, eventually I'll become righteous. I'll become pious afterwards. But now let me do this. Let me do this one haram now. Let me get involved in this one haram now. There's loads. This is just scene number 2, I think. Scene number 3, scene number 4, scene number 5, there's so much. But inshallah, some other time. But this is very, very important. I keep emphasizing this and I keep mentioning this again and again. I don't sit here to entertain you. I sit here to educate myself and educate yourselves. You cannot get there without studying Arabic. As much as you don't like the sound of that, you have to study Arabic. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, 70, you have to engage in some serious study of the Quran. This book is the book of guidance. I can say it all I want and I can tell all the non-Muslims that this is a book of guidance and this month is a special month and all of these things. And by the way, this is the month of Quran. But if I don't show it myself and I don't take this book and say, what's my Allah saying? And not just try, and I don't try to understand the words and I don't try to understand the meanings and the lessons therein, I'm going to be the one losing out. Allah has given us a code of conduct, everything in our life in this book. But until I don't study it, I'm not going to reach it. May Allah give me the tawfiq and give us all the tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Just a few minutes remain, inshallah. Brothers are requested to engage in their du'as, inshallah. Brothers outside also, please don't waste this time. This is a very special moment. This is a moment where you need to connect to Allah. You've got your friends around you all the time. You can speak with them before, you can speak with them after. This is a time when you need to speak to Allah. Turn to Allah, speak to Allah, open up your heart to Allah, ask for the ummah. Turn to Allah. Please, break up our little small gatherings. We can have our kajur together after, but these 5-7 minutes that remain, just you and Allah, nobody else. Turn to Allah. Even put your Qurans away. This is not time for tilawat as well. This is the time for dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Engage in conversing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talk to Allah and build your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers outside, please engage in dua. Jazakumullah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma laka sumtu wa bika amantu wa alayka tawakkaltu wa ala rizqika aftartu. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا